The year is 1287, northern Italy. A merchant's cart rolls slowly along a stone road carved into the hillside. The wheels grind against fitted stone, worn smooth by generations of travellers before him. Rain fell heavily last night, but the road is already draining. Water runs along carefully angled channels cut into the surface, disappearing into ditches that line both sides. This road is already 300 years old. It was built on the foundation of an even older Roman route, itself constructed 1,000 years before that. The merchant doesn't think about this. He doesn't marvel at the engineering beneath his wheels. To him, this road simply exists, as permanent as the hills themselves. His grandfather travelled this same path, his grandson will too. The stones are not perfectly smooth. Some have shifted over the centuries. Patches show where repairs were made, decades ago, perhaps longer. But the road holds, it drains, it carries weight, it endures. Somewhere beneath those, wheels, layers of crushed stone and gravel, compact together, interlocking with every passing cart, growing denser and more stable with time, rather than weaker. This road will still exist 700 years later. Welcome to the Medieval Advantage. I'm glad you're here. On this channel we explore forgotten knowledge, practical wisdom that modern convenience has quietly buried. Not because the past was perfect, but because some solutions that worked for centuries deserve more than dismissal. Today we're asking a question that seems almost absurd on its surface. Why do roads built 500, 800, sometimes 2,000 years ago still exist and function, while modern roads crack, buckle, and require constant repair within decades? This is not nostalgia. This is not romanticizing a brutal past. This is a genuine engineering and systems question with implications far beyond transportation. Because the answer reveals something uncomfortable about how we build, not just roads, but institutions, infrastructure, and systems of all kinds. Let's start with what most people assume about medieval roads. The common image is mud, ruts, barely passable tracks that turn to swamps in rain and dust bowls in summer. Peasants trudging through filth, carts stuck axle deep in mire. This image isn't entirely false. Many rural paths were exactly this crude. But major routes, the roads that connected cities, enabled trade, moved armies, were engineered structures built with remarkable sophistication. Medieval road builders inherited knowledge from Roman engineers, who themselves had learned from even older civilizations. This wasn't primitive work. It was accumulated wisdom, refined over millennia. And the assumption that modern automatically means better deserves scrutiny. We have more advanced materials. We have machines that can move mountains of earth in days. We have computer modelling and engineering degrees, and centuries of accumulated scientific knowledge. Yet our roads fail constantly. Potholes appear within years of construction. Entire highways require resurfacing every decade. Bridges built in the 1960s are now structurally deficient. Infrastructure that should last generations becomes a recurring budget crisis within one. Something is clearly wrong with this picture. So how were medieval roads actually built? The fundamental principle was layering, not simply paving a surface over dirt, but building a complete system from the ground up. First, the roadbed was excavated down to stable subsoil. Soft ground was removed entirely. Drainage channels were cut alongside the route, and sometimes beneath it, to ensure water could never pool under the road surface. Then came the foundation layer, large stones, sometimes massive, fitted together and packed tight. This wasn't decorative, this was structural. These stones distributed weight across a broad area, preventing the concentrated pressure that causes modern roads to crack and sink. Above the foundation came layers of progressively smaller stones and gravel, each layer compacted before the next was added. The materials interlocked mechanically, binding together through friction and pressure rather than chemical adhesives. The surface was cambered, higher in the centre, sloping gently toward the edges. Rainwater couldn't pool. It ran immediately to the drainage channels. The road stayed dry even during heavy storms. This system was overbuilt by modern standards. More material than strictly necessary, more labour than efficiency would demand, more depth than minimum requirements. But that overbuilding was intentional. Medieval builders didn't optimise for cost. They didn't cut corners to meet budget constraints. They built beyond what was immediately needed because they expected these roads to carry traffic for generations. They also built for repair. A modern asphalt road is essentially a continuous surface. When one section fails, the failure often spreads. Cracks propagate, water infiltrates, the damage compounds. Medieval stone roads were modular by nature. Individual stones could be lifted, the subsurface repaired, and stones reset. Damaged sections could be fixed without disrupting the entire route. Repair was expected, planned for, built into the design. This reflects a fundamentally different relationship with time. Medieval builders assumed their work would outlive them. They built for their grandchildren, not for the next election cycle. The road wasn't a line item to be minimised, it was infrastructure that would serve communities for centuries. Modern infrastructure operates on completely different incentive structures. Roads are built by contractors selected through competitive bidding. The lowest bid often wins. This creates pressure to minimise materials, reduce labour costs, cut every possible corner while still meeting minimum specifications. Those specifications themselves are shaped by political and economic constraints. How long must a road last? Long enough to survive the warranty period, long enough to avoid immediate embarrassment, long enough to push the next repair beyond the current budget cycle. This isn't corruption. It's not incompetence. It's rational behaviour within a system that rewards short-term cost savings over long-term durability. A contractor who overbuilds, who uses more material than required, who takes more time than competitors, loses the bid. A politician who demands centuries-long durability faces costs that exceed their term in office. The benefits of longevity accrue to future generations, but the costs fall on present budgets. So we optimise for the short term. We build roads that last 20 years instead of 200, and we accept constant repair as normal. But the contrast between medieval and modern roads isn't simply stone versus asphalt. It's not just about materials, it's about systems. A medieval road was designed as a complete system. Surface, foundation, drainage, shoulders, all worked together as an integrated whole. Each component supported the others. Failure in one area could be addressed without cascading collapse across the entire structure. Modern roads often prioritise the surface at the expense of everything beneath it. Asphalt is remarkable material in many ways. It's flexible, it's relatively cheap, it can be laid quickly over vast distances. It creates smooth surfaces ideal for high-speed vehicle traffic. But asphalt is also vulnerable in ways stone is not. Water is the great enemy of modern roads. When water penetrates the surface through small cracks, it infiltrates the layers beneath. In cold climates, that water freezes, expands, and forces the crack wider. More water enters. The cycle repeats. What began as a hairline fracture becomes a pothole within a single winter. Stone roads handled water differently. The fitted stones allowed minimal infiltration. The cambered surface shed water immediately. The layered gravel beneath drained what little moisture did penetrate. The system was designed around the inevitability of water, not the hope of keeping it out. Modern roads often treat drainage as an afterthought. Budgets are allocated to the visible surface, not the invisible foundation. The result is roads that look excellent on completion day and deteriorate rapidly afterward. This brings us to maintenance culture, perhaps the most significant difference between medieval and modern approaches. Medieval societies expected roads to require ongoing care. This wasn't failure, it wasn't poor construction, it was simply how infrastructure worked. Labour was organised around maintenance. Communities were often obligated to maintain roads that passed through their territory. Lords allocated workers for road repair as routinely as for planting and harvest. Religious institutions maintained routes used by pilgrims. Maintenance was continuous, expected, and built into the social fabric. When a stone shifted, it was reset before the problem spread. When drainage channels silted, they were cleared before water pooled. Small interventions prevented large failures. Modern infrastructure operates on the opposite principle. We build roads and then largely ignore them until they fail. Maintenance budgets are the first cut when finances tighten. Repair is reactive rather than preventive. We wait until potholes appear, then patch them. We wait until surfaces crack, then resurface. We wait until bridges become dangerous, then scramble for emergency funding. This isn't because we don't understand preventive maintenance. Every engineer knows that early intervention costs far less than emergency repair. The problem is incentive structure. Preventive maintenance is invisible. No one notices when a road doesn't develop potholes. No politician gets credit for problems that never occurred. But ribbon-cutting ceremonies for new construction generate headlines and photo opportunities. So we build new while the old crumbles. We add capacity while existing capacity degrades. We celebrate openings while deferring the maintenance that would prevent closures. The result is infrastructure that requires constant crisis management rather than steady stewardship. Consider what happens when a modern highway fails significantly. The damage is rarely isolated. Because modern roads are continuous surfaces, failure propagates. A single structural weakness affects traffic for miles. Repairs require closing lanes, sometimes entire routes. Economic disruption ripples outward. Delayed shipments, extended commutes, accidents in diverted traffic. The complexity that enables modern speed and scale also creates vulnerability. Our systems are optimized so tightly that they have no slack, no redundancy, no capacity to absorb failure gracefully. Medieval roads were slower. They carried less traffic. They couldn't support the weight of modern trucks or the speeds of modern vehicles, but they were robust. A damaged section affected only that section. Traffic could continue through alternate routes. Repair could proceed without systemic disruption. This is the trade-off we rarely acknowledge. We optimized for efficiency and lost resilience. We built for speed and sacrificed durability. We prioritized immediate cost savings and created long-term cost burdens that compound with each passing decade. There's a deeper lesson here that extends far beyond transportation. Medieval roads reflect a worldview. They were built by people who thought in generations, not quarters, who expected to invest heavily up front in exchange for centuries of service, who treated infrastructure as inheritance to be passed down, not expense to be minimized. Modern roads reflect a different worldview. We think in budget cycles. We discount future costs. We externalize problems to future generations who will have to deal with crumbling bridges and failing highways we could have built to last. This pattern repeats across modern systems. Buildings designed for 50-year lifespans, electronics built for obsolescence, institutions structured for short-term metrics rather than long-term mission. We are extraordinarily good at building quickly, cheaply, and at scale. We are remarkably poor at building things that last. What else have we constructed this way? What other systems are we passing to our children, already crumbling, already requiring repairs we deferred, already failing because we optimized for the wrong variables? These are not comfortable questions, but they are necessary ones. Let's return to that road in northern Italy. The merchant's cart has long since passed. Centuries have passed. The Roman foundations remain. The medieval stones still fit together, worn smoother now, carrying traffic that those original builders could never have imagined. The road works because it was built to work indefinitely, because drainage was considered as carefully as surface, because foundation mattered as much as appearance, because the builders assumed their grandchildren would use this road, and their grandchildren's grandchildren after that. They were right. We stand at a peculiar moment in history. We have more resources, more knowledge, more capability than any civilization before us. Yet we struggle to build things that last even a single lifetime. The problem isn't technical. We know how to build durable infrastructure. The Romans knew. The medieval engineers knew. The knowledge exists. The problem is priorities, incentives, time horizons, the questions we ask before we build, and the questions we fail to ask. Perhaps the medieval advantage wasn't superior technology. Perhaps it was simply building as if the future mattered. What kind of roads will we leave for those who come after us? What kind of systems? What kind of world? These questions have answers, but only if we choose to ask them. In the next video, we'll explore another forgotten system, how medieval communities managed shared resources without modern regulations, and what their solutions reveal about problems we still haven't solved. Thank you for watching this video. I genuinely appreciate you spending this time thinking through these ideas with me. If this exploration has offered a new perspective on how we build and what we value, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the Medieval Advantage channel. Your support makes it possible to continue uncovering wisdom that modern convenience has quietly buried. I'll see you in the next one.